Hi, I'm Chayale.
Hi, I'm Hinty. Welcome to your Relationshift. Join in our conversation where we explore
The nuance and beauty of Torah's perspective on relationships.
Hi, Chayla.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. We are up to episode 12, which is so huge. It's so exciting to be here, and thank you all for listening. We keep getting feedback, so it's so special. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were going to give examples of mirroring, some real life examples of what actually happens between husband and wife. Last week we spoke about, a school email, which just that can inspire a lot of growth. But here we're going to be speaking about the real relationship.
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's jump into some examples.
Okay, go for it. Start.
So, one example that we both know can come up for a lot of clients is when it comes to religious observance from religious practice, anything centered around Judaism, learning, going to shul, just how their husband is being as a practicing Jew. And a woman will often find herself feeling like her husband is not doing enough. He's lacking. Whether it's that he's not catching the minyan, or he isn't learning as much as she wants him to, or he isn't as refined as she thinks he should be. It comes up in a lot of areas. Maybe we would have to extract one or not. But I think it's, I think that comes up a lot.
Yeah.
Do you find that?
Sure. Oh, of course. And to all levels of frumkeit. I have heard many a time a woman who wants her husband to learn in front of the kids, and make sure to run the Shabbos table, where it involves all the kids or it involves all the guests or, a minyan comes up a lot. And, kind of like the whole experience of this is what I thought I was going to marry when it comes to ticking off all the boxes for religiosity, and somehow he's not shaping up to be exactly that.
Yeah. I'm also
Even
thinking now
dress.
Yeah, it comes up around Yamim Tovim, how he is or isn't preparing, how he is or isn't enthusiastic, what his level of interest is. I know that could be a big one.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, there's a lot, like you said, coming into the marriage, there's a lot of expectation. A lot we feel like, based on how most from girls are raised, there's so much importance placed on it, and it's such a big, it's the key to our lives, and so could be a lot of fear around it also, which puts us in that place where we're watching our husbands.
Oh yeah, for sure. Fear comes up tremendously because, especially when it comes with kids, there's a lot of fear of, God forbid, a child going off the derech or something like that. And we've spoken about this before on the podcast. I remember you mentioning how there could be two different ways of interacting with youth, with high school, inspiring them and relating to them and trusting them that they want to be religious just like we do, or approaching it with a lot of fear of cramming it down their throats. So if that fear is very present for you in chinuch, either because it feels very personal or it just feels very present, then that definitely is a motivator to look at one's husband and say, it's not enough. We're not doing enough. We have to step it up a bit, especially if a woman has entered the marriage and kind of has started to let go of responsibility around religion. So I think this is important to mention, that if a woman, let's say right away gets pregnant and she's busy with children and she's not davening every day the way she used to. And she's not, she doesn't know the parsha. She doesn't know what day it is on the Jewish calendar. So in ways, maybe she didn't enter the relationship feeling like this is his problem. But as soon as she starts not being able to show up, the way she wants to religiously, it could definitely become an issue in the relationship even more because I'm just bringing the ownership principle in here. She also is also lacking when it comes to ownership in that area. And so
Yeah.
that's a painful experience, a guilt-ridden experience, and
Mhm.
could contribute to this dynamic.
Yeah. I think ownership, mirror work really is deep ownership, because ownership is always about starting with where I am and checking in with myself. And mirroring, looking at somebody, it doesn't seem like a moment for ownership because he's not going to minyan. I know, I can see it's not like it's something to do with me, meaning in the sense of he should be going to Shacharis and he's not. So what am I going to take ownership of? Waking him up? Like, I don't want to be controlling. So it doesn't feel, sometimes ownership is more obvious, less obvious. Sometimes when there's like this, what seems to a woman like this very obvious gaping flaw in her husband's religious performance, let's say in this example, then it's just like, my husband is just not, like, it's just not, this is just, he's just not doing what he needs to be doing. This is a problem.
Right. Okay, so let's dive into it. There's a lot of ways that one can tackle a conflict like this, right? And I think it's important to also mention that, like, if I had a client who was coming to me with this, there would be a lot of things to discuss around this, not just mirror work. So that's just an important thing to say. Like, there's other pieces to a complicated experience like that, and important to say that it's such a painful experience to feel like you're married to someone who's not showing up the way you would like religiously. I hear that. That's painful. Um, and if that is your real experience, you can always reach out to a coach and get the support that you need. Here, we're just going to talk about it from the context of mirror work.
Yeah. Yeah. We could also, I guess, remind or mention that in most people's experience, let's say if you're able to, say to your husband, I would love for you to go to shul, and that goes down really well. And he's like, thanks for the reminder and the support. And I'm back on it and off I go. Then that's great. Most times when people bring it up, it's not appreciated. When the husband feels like his wife is ushering him to shul, it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling for the relationship. And I think maybe even some people feel like, or maybe some people even taught that's their job to encourage their husbands to go to shul.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean? What does that look like? So that also gets tricky when I'm feeling very scared about what my husband is and isn't doing. And I have this understanding or this education that I'm supposed to be the one that's encouraging him and supporting him and telling him and pushing him out the door to shul. And that's all seeming.
Yeah, or it could even not be, let's say, pushing him out the door, but like I could imagine this, just saying like, I've got the kids, don't worry about it. It's okay. You can go, like taking care of everything so that he has nothing else to do but go. Right. It's just like another form of trying to control the fact that you're so afraid that he's not actually going to shul. It's the same thing, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the
Nice
more
version.
subtle,
Yeah.
gentle,
Just,
passive aggressive.
right.
Honey, I got this. You can.
Right. Which again, like, first of all, bringing in the control element there, but also the mashpia makabel element there. That's her like protecting or covering for him, and very much not on her own plate,
In
like
her
we were
own
saying
body.
last time.
Yeah. Yeah. So I remember last time we did it in like orders. So
Mhm.
what's tier one? Yeah, with the my
With
husband's not
this
going to
example, yeah. So tier one would be super simple. I think just like coming back to yourself and recognizing, okay, first of all, like, let me just like regulate. Something's coming up for me. This is either scary or I have a judgment here. I'm annoyed. I'm frustrated. What's happening here? I'm catching myself trying to get him to do something. It's bringing discord into our home. What's going on? So even just like that first step of stopping and going inside is part of tier one. And like, I think a very simple level of mirroring would be, why am I being judgmental? Or why am I watching to see what his experience is when this is supposed to be something so personal? Like, this is his relationship with Hashem. It's not supposed to be something that is ticking off boxes, right? It's actually supposed to be a relationship with God. So why am I here? Why am I in it, in the middle of this?
Yeah.
What's driving me? So that would be part of, I think, tier one.
Yeah, I like to think of it like as a general rule, whenever a woman is asking herself, why is my husband doing what he's doing or not doing what he's doing? Just flip that question to, why am I doing what I'm doing or not doing what I'm doing? Like, what, let's say, oh, it's 8 a.m. Why isn't my husband at Shachris? So I want to ask myself, it's 8 a.m. What do I need to be doing? Where should I be at 8 a.m., right? Is there somewhere or some place or something that I need to be doing? So literally just like in the sense of like, turn it around, and whatever questions you want to ask your husband about what he is and isn't doing right now, ask those questions to yourself.
Right. And it could even be like, let's say, one of the examples you're saying, like, why is he not preparing for a Chassidus Yom Tif? Like, how am I preparing for a Chassidus Yom Tif? Right. So like, going to minyan is not necessarily what a woman is thinking, like, oh, why am I not going to minyan? But like, am I davening? I'm so busy looking at somebody else going to make sure that they're davening. Have I done my equal share of davening to Hashem? And then, it's easy for us to excuse ourselves. Oh, but I can't, I'm not busy with the kids. You're not so busy because you're mentally
Yeah,
very
or even
much
if,
focused
right,
on somebody else.
even if you are super busy and you can't
Right.
daven, so have you spoken to God?
Right.
It
Right.
doesn't, yeah, it
Have you
doesn't have to
turned your
be that.
relationship to Him?
Yeah, let's turn this mirror and ask ourselves, where am I in my relationship with God?
Mm. Yeah.
And are we still tier one, or is that the next step?
I think let's go a little deeper. Like, what's
Yeah.
motivating this this whole experience, the frustration, the fear, the anger, the whatever your emotional experience is, something, the trigger, what's making that happen? So the
Yeah.
fear is good.
You did mention it before, and I do actually think it's a big piece of it, this understanding that somehow when we get married, like, religion is our husband's job.
Mm.
Like, there's like this division of labor, and he's going to do like the learning, the davening. He's going to bring the Judaism into the home, like in the performative sense, and we're going to kind of lean on that, or he's going to be our source of knowing, like you said, knowing what the parsha is, feeling inspired, feeling like there's a structure around Judaism. So that sense often has a person feeling like, well, if their husband isn't showing up the way they would like them to, so now we're at a loss. How are we going to have this? How am I going to have this? I immediately feel like I'm lacking. In general, it's I think it's a woman trying to apply the mashpia makabel dynamic, but not really understanding what it fully is, in the sense of translating it to mean like this helpless dependence.
Mm.
Like, someone was just sharing with me the other day, I don't like the whole mashpia makabel thing. We should have our own light. Why are we receiving? And I was telling them it's a classic misunderstanding that you actually can't receive if you're not your own person. As soon as you're not your own person, you fall into this trap where you're not receiving your, and this we spoke about a lot on the other podcast, you're taking. And then when you're taking and you're starting off at a deficit, that's when all the stress comes in.
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like what you're saying is not just may there be a fear, but there also could be a little bit of like a neediness. I can't, so you have to kind of experience your energy there.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little pushiness, because this is what is supposed to happen. This is the dialogue. Like this is the script, and so let's follow the script, right? So if a woman does a deep dive and like recognizes that, it's helpful for her to actually start recognizing that there's either that judgment, fear, expectation of script, and that just by itself could also help her reset. And it also helps her understand like exactly like what you were saying. It's not just him that has to bring this to the table. I have to be it too. Meaning I have to feel alive religiously. I have to feel the spark of Abishter inside of me. I have to feel connected. And this is not just his responsibility. I have to, he can't make me feel more spiritual as much as he might try or not try. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
It's
meaning
yours to own.
No one can do your relationship for God for you.
Right.
It's not
Right.
It's not the type of thing that you can outsource.
Yeah. Beautiful. So woman wakes up 8 a.m. She sees her husband's not going to shul, is running late, or is he still in bed? And like so much is coming up for her. So tier 1 would be like that regulation, that more turning inward, recognizing that something's happening. Tier 2 is, and like turning it around simply, just like, hey, what are you doing? What are you up to? Tier 2 would be, let's go a little deeper here. What's motivating this? What is the deeper expectation or anxiety around this? And let me actually look at myself and say, what might be motivating this is I am fearful of the spiritual temperature in our home. Well, what am I doing for my spiritual temperature in my home? And just going internal with that.
When we start to think about our relationship with God, because we've turned inward, how do I, like you were saying, how do I want to show up spiritually? What am I doing to get excited about a Yom Tov? What am I doing in terms of my prayer and my connecting with God? Am I talking to God? Am I in dialogue with God? So then hopefully you start to realize that, wow, a relationship with God is a very complex and nuanced space. It's exceptionally private. It's exceptionally personal. And it's very difficult to measure, right? How, like, what's going on. And then I know that about myself. I have areas of strength. I have areas of weakness. I have, ways that I'm really showing up and ways that I'm really struggling to show up. And I understand that about myself. And I'm okay with it in myself because I know that there's a lot going on. I also know that it's deeply personal and it's also something that's in motion, and there's a lot of factors that contribute to it. And it's just a very complex space. Right. So having that recognition, I could then reapproach with a whole different energy of, first of all, respect. Like, it's not my space to be in someone else's relationship with God. I don't belong there. What I can do is admire whatever is working about that relationship. It's very, very, very different to how we started.
Yeah. So like once we turn inward and we say, okay, fine, I'm seeing where this is coming from and I'm seeing what's motivating this. I also give myself space and understanding that this is a process, and I'm also growing in my relationship with Hashem. Yeah, there's maybe a lot of room there. Like I did get that from this exercise. I probably need to work on that relationship a little bit more. And I'm also realizing that I had a lot of space for my own relationship with Abishter, but not really making space for somebody else's relationship with Abishter. So that compassion could also kind of extend, or that openness, that space could extend to the other, which is like tier 3 of mirroring, where now we could bring that to the other person, and just let them live, and give them that space. And yeah, that was beautiful.
Yeah, I think also like just another thought is like how it feels when someone feels like, just think about how I know for me, if I feel like someone's watching me religiously and like making conclusions or analyzing my relationship with God and like sort of being like, why don't you? I know that I really, really feel deeply, deeply uncomfortable with that. And it just doesn't feel good. I don't ever want to be on the receiving end of that. And if ever I have been, for whatever reason, or felt like I have been, it's really hasn't been a good experience for me. I haven't been like, oh, now that that person's watching me and really wondering why I'm falling short in all these areas of Judaism, I'm really inspired and motivated to grow and do better. Like that's just not, it's just not what comes up.
Right, right.
So I think everyone can relate to, it's a sensitive area for anyone to feel like they're being judged in their relationship with God. Nobody likes that.
Definitely impedes on the safety in the relationship.
Yeah.
Like, even if you were in a relationship with like employer employee, I'm like imagining a principal and teacher, and she's inspecting the teacher's SNES or how well she's showing up when it comes to like just being an example for the girls. Even, and that's kind of what she's supposed to do. She's supposed to
Right.
make sure that you're showing up. It still eats away at the safety in that relationship. It just does.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's like, okay, that's is appropriate in a boss and employee relationship, that she
Right.
could have standards, and they could be religious standards if it's a religious school, and then you're held to those standards. But who, like, why would I want to bring that into my marriage?
Right. Right.
It's awful.
Right. Yeah. And to also say that, like, to kind of bring in the abundance principle over here, right? Where there's, like you were saying, so much to admire and to celebrate when it comes to his relationship with Abishter. So I'll just give you a quick, like, maybe turnaround that maybe someone out there is feeling like, no, there's nothing to celebrate. Like, there's no minyan, there's no this, there's that. And she's starting the checklist in her head of, you and Chayale are talking about someone who teaches a Tanya share, but he doesn't make it to minyan. But my husband does neither, right? So I think there's also something, and this is just like maybe a different kind of mirroring or a different type of turning things around that may be good for someone out there. There's something cool also about a person who is deeply authentically themselves. I know for myself, being someone who had a lot of experience of, let's say, practicing things religiously, but like they were religious, as opposed to me really feeling a relationship with Abishter and doing it from a place of true love and fear of him. It was maybe much more true love and fear of society and what society will say, right? And like, as a grown up, as an adult, really re-examining her relationship with God, um, I could say that there was a lot of that having been born from and just kind of like going with the flow, instead of everything being a very authentic, deep choice of, I want to do this because Hashem told me to do it. There was very much that other experience. And I think like another deepening that we could bring in over here is, it could be for this woman out there who is not experiencing that her husband is doing all the fun things that she wants him to do. There's also something about just being authentically where I am in my journey with God, instead of pretending or trying to live up to other people's expectations. And I think that's a powerful thing to bring also for a mirroring experience, where she could say, where is it that I'm being religious or I'm ticking off the boxes because it's the right thing to do, because other people say it's the right thing to do it, as opposed to like, what do I really think? And am I really showing up to God, and what he wants from me? And it could be that her husband is just a deeply authentic person, genuine to the core, and is not feeling like he would be doing this for Hashem. He'd just be doing this because, you know, society expects him to do so and does not want his relationship with Hashem to be because of society. And
Yeah.
there's something beautiful about that and something to really value about that.
That's huge. That's super powerful. And if you bring that back into like the context of the home and raising children, what started off as a fear of, are my children getting what they need because my husband's not doing the checklist? Children who have a parent who creates space for that authenticity, for that messiness in the relationship with God, for it not being perfect and it not looking the same as everybody else's, like, that's a big gift for your children to be in a home where there isn't this like rigid expectation of it has to look and sound a certain way or else it's not real. So just you mentioned the word space, and I think that's such an important word here, where we want to create a space and we want to create a safety and a trust. Every Jew has a relationship with Hashem. That's a fact. Every Jew has a soul, and they are by definition a part of God. So if my husband is on his journey, and in the way that you're describing it, he's being authentically himself and traveling that journey sincerely, that's a huge contribution to my children, to my home, to me. I can step into that for my own self. And that's what we want. That's what we want to create. We want to create that space and that safety for everyone to step into their relationship with Hashem that is already theirs and natural to them.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So special, right? To be married to someone who's grappling, who's engaged, who's, like really in it, as opposed to what a little bit I can relate to, which is just like going through the motions and just doing it because it's right and because it's my habit or whatever it is. There's something so beautiful about that, and such a treasured gift for a child to see and witness. Like, we engage with God. It's gorgeous.
Yeah. And I think, just again, to keep the space relatable to everybody, the point is that whatever it is, the feminine quality that we have is that when we come at it, whatever, if it's too much or it's too little, whatever we thought initially, whatever the judgment was, if we come at it from a space of, first of all, ownership, and then I see the abundance, I see the value, we create something very special in a place where there could have been a lot of tension.
Like, we received something that was there. I love that. I love what you're bringing out. Like, instead of being in that space of only seeing what is not, you're seeing what is. And that's so inspiring. That's so, there's just like this feeling of being seen and appreciated and witnessed. That is so special and brings so much safety to a relationship.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But ultimately, that's more than anything, that's what we want our home to feel like. To feel safe. Right? We want our relationships to feel safe. So yeah. Okay. So bring your questions, bring your examples. We want more of them. And hopefully this felt relatable to you somehow. Again, this may not be your exact story, but I think we could all relate to needing to engage more with Abishter. I think that's a universal desire of our soul. So
yeah, and also if you're picking up on the formula from last episode and this episode, you could insert a completely different example and follow the same routine. It could be about your husband's eating habits and how he shows up for his nutrition in his life, and the same pattern should play itself out pretty directly.
Great. Beautiful. Thank you, Chayale.
This was fun. We would love to hear your feedback, thoughts, and questions.
Please leave a comment below or email us at yourrelationship@gmail.com.
Looking forward to connecting with you.
See you next time.